welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This is going to be a great interview, I'm sure.
I hope so.
Yeah. I want to ask you your background in terms of you're a police officer with our fine police force service in the city of Salinas. How long have you been working with the city of Salinas as a police officer?
I've been with the city of Salinas for almost 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
My law enforcement career started with the city of Monterey as a police officer there.
Right.
I was there 7 years before I came over to Salinas.
Right.
And although I loved my time in Monterey, I don't regret coming to Salinas one bit. Best
Wonderful.
move I ever made.
They say we have the best, police, workforce, bar none in the region.
I believe so. Our training's fantastic. Our administrative staff is great. We have a fantastic support from the city and city council. So it's a fantastic place to work. Now
Right.
with the new building coming along, it's even that much more exciting.
Mm-hmm. So you have had some different jobs and responsibilities in your 12 years. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the activities and
Sure.
involvement on your part as a police officer in our city?
Yes. When I first came over to Salinas, pretty much the day that I got off probation, myself and another officer that came with me from Monterey, we both got sent to field training officer school to become field training officers. So we did that myself, I did that for about 6 or 8 months, and then a position opened up within the narcotics unit, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to come to Salinas, because they had a full-time narcotics team. So I went into that narcotics unit full-time. From there, I got lucky, and I stayed in that plainclothes assignment for quite a while. I was able to move from narcotics over to a joint narcotics task force with the sheriff's department, and that was the initial move off-site to the LEOC. From there, my time was coming up, and I was due back to patrol for my 1-year rotation at least, and the spot in GTF came available.
Wow.
And I was able to put in for that, and I got that spot. And so I was able to stay in the LEOC, start working the gang task force, which was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then that evolved into the DOJ Sting task force.
Okay.
So I was able to stay there even a tad
Right.
bit longer until everybody came back to patrol.
You've worked with the gang task force?
Yes.
That's one of those, and the narcotics, these are all very complex responsibilities because you're dealing with not only some very bad hombres, but some complex systems in terms of how those gangs works, how the narcotics system works in terms of the criminal element.
Yes, we did local narcotics raids and buys and things like that, and then it went much larger. Statewide, we went up on quite a few wiretap investigations, some of the ones that were notorious, so to speak, within Monterey County.
Right.
And none of that could have been done without the help of all the other outside agencies that assisted with us, from the federal side to the local government side as well. But it's very complex. It was definitely hands down the best part of my career. My family might not have thought so, but for me and the other folks that were on those teams, if you ask any of them, they'll tell you that it was definitely the best time of their career.
Right. Well, I'm sure you made and are making a huge difference with those activities, and there were some major sting operations and major gang task force initiatives that produced a lot of results and improved the safety of our city.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. We had a lot of fun doing it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So let's go back to now your current job and what we're trying to accomplish with that. So my understanding is now you're the lead point in terms of recruiting for the Salinas Police Department. Is that correct?
That's correct. My full-time responsibility now is, I guess technically the title is recruitment officer. So I work directly in line with our personnel and training division. I report directly to Sergeant Kim Robinson, and a lot of times directly to the chief. She came in and had a vision for our department. Obviously, personnel is that number one vision, and so she went out and created a position for recruitment to have somebody basically in the field at all times and available to answer questions about the job and to get people to come work for this fine city. And so far, I think it's gone really well in the 2.5 months, almost 3 full months that I've been doing it.
All right. Well, the chief must have a lot of faith in you and respect, because you're the ambassador, you're the point person, you're out with the community and all these different areas in terms of bringing a positive message about the police department and why people should sign up and work with us, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah, I have a lot of passion. I have a lot of experience. I can talk about for officers that work for other agencies now. I can talk to them about the experience of lateraling over to Salinas because I did that. People have questions about the field training officer program.
Right.
I came straight from being a field training officer for new recruits into this position. I can talk about that. I'm also a background investigator. So if people have questions about, well, this is in my background, or is this going to be a problem, I can answer those questions as well. So I think my experience and the jobs that I've held have definitely prepared me. I didn't know that at the time, but it's definitely prepared me for this position now.
great. So let's go to specifics now about what you're trying to accomplish. How many openings do you currently have in terms of officers and maybe other positions in the police department?
For officers specifically, we have today, as I sit and talk with you, we have 20 openings.
Okay.
We're authorized 172. We were at 135 until yesterday. So we've added 6 that were in the academy at Evergreen. They graduated yesterday. They got sworn in yesterday. They started their 2-week in-house academy today. And they'll be hitting the field training program here in a couple weeks. So it's exciting to welcome them here. So with those 6, 9 others that we currently have in the MPC Academy, they're due
MPC
to
meaning?
Monterey Peninsula College Academy.
Right.
They have, there's 9 there, and they're due to graduate in August, the end of August.
Right.
So with those, and then 2 more that we have starting the academy on July 10th, back at the Coyote Creek Academy. That puts us at 152.
Okay.
So we still have that 20.
Yeah.
20 people think that we have all these people in the academy, so you don't really have those positions open. No, those people right now are hired and count towards our overall number, even though they're not working on the street, and some won't be for about a year.
Right. So let's give the viewers a little idea about what the academies, and say somebody qualifies for a police officer, and take us from that point. They're qualified, you're selecting them, they go to academy.
Yes.
They get trained in the academy. So let's start with that. They're qualified, they meet all the requirements of the job, and you've decided to pick them or select them and put them in the academy. Tell us what that process is and what the academy does.
Sure. The academy is 26 weeks long. There's 42 different what they call learning domains that these folks learn, basically. Wow. It's like a study guide or a book. There's 42 of them, and each one of them is on a different topic. And they're tested on each one of those topics. At any time during the academy, if you failed one of those learning domain tests, you have your opportunity to remediate that test, take that test again. If you fail that remediation, your academy time is over. You no longer proceed through the academy. So there's a lot of academic work. It's a classroom learning environment, so to speak, a lot like college. That's one part of it. Then the other part of it is the physical aspect of the academy. There are certain requirements that the police officer standards and training, the governing board for us as police officers through the state of California, they set their regulations on where we need to perform physically as well. So they have to go through a lot of physical training. There's a lot of push-ups. There'll be a lot of sit-ups. There'll be a lot of pull-ups. There is a lot of running, jumping walls and fences and that sort of thing, and learning how to control your breathing while you're running, because the last thing we want is somebody in a foot pursuit and yelling and screaming on this thing and we can't understand them. So you learn how to manage that and how to manage your emotions, I guess, a little bit in that respect as well. And then there's other technical aspects like arrest and control techniques. There's a certain way you should be handcuffing somebody. There's a certain way you take somebody down. There's all these ways that for the technical aspects of the things, the physical aspects of the things that we do. And then there's the driving. So they go through pursuit driving. They go through slow speed driving. There's lots of different avenues within that. And then they get to the point where they have to do practical exercises. And that's towards the end, after their firearms training, and they have to learn how to shoot a handgun. A lot of people have never shot before, so they have to learn how to shoot a gun. They have to learn how to shoot a shotgun at nighttime, during the daytime, in low light, all these different types of scenarios that they're put in. And then they go through their practical exercises towards the end of the academy, and that's where they have role players come in. And they go through they try to make it as real life as possible, where maybe there's a domestic dispute, there's a burglary call or something like that, and they get graded on every aspect of the academy. And towards the end, as they get through that, they also have a midterm portion where there's the departments go out and inspect them. How do they look? They quiz them on penal code sections, they quiz them on department policy, and they get graded on that at the midterm inspection and then at the final inspection as well.
Right. So it's really important when you make the selection for somebody to attend the academy that you've really vetted this candidate, and the goal is for them to really make it through, because it's an investment by the department in these people, these potential police officers. Am I correct?
For sure. Oh yeah, the investment for the city is great. For the candidate, they have a lot of investment. They have, but the other investments too are for the academy staff,
right,
for all the instructors that come out there, right? They don't want, none of these folks are set up to fail in any stretch of the imagination. They're given more than enough opportunity to pick it up and to, let's figure this out, because it's a new job,
right, and
it's very technical. And so they need to, we give them the opportunity for that, and we truly do want them to be successful. Even at the academy, when we're doing their midterm inspection and we might be yelling at them a little bit and nitpicking their uniform and things like that, we still want them, even though they may not feel it at the time, we are setting them up for success.
Right. Now you mentioned, Todd, two academies, specifically the Monterey Peninsula College Academy, and then there's also a Coyote Creek, which is, correct, I believe, north. It's up around the San Jose area.
That's correct.
So do you use both often, or do you use one more than the other? How do you make a determination in terms of classes or academy openings to put your recruits in?
Sure. The South Bay Regional Training Consortium consists of 3 colleges: College of San Mateo, then the other, that's where one academy is. The other academy used to be at Evergreen Valley College. That's closed, and now they moved out to their satellite Gavilan College location, which is the Coyote Creek location out there off of Bailey Avenue in South San Jose. So that's a brand new facility, still getting some pieces of the puzzle together out there, but it's a great facility. And then again to the one on Fort Ord, which is run through Monterey Peninsula College. So those 3 are very well run. They're very well put together. Their academy directors, the whole staff there are very, very, very good. We decide basically where we're going to put the recruits.
Okay.
It's not rocket science. It is definitely, this is the day this academy starts. This is the location.
Okay.
How many people do we have to put into this spot?
Right.
And the classes now are starting to fill up very, very quickly. And so we were able to kind of hold spots before and hopefully get some hired and put in. Nowadays, we're not able to do that anymore. They want to know, names and dates of birth of who we're putting in there as fast as we can get them, because classes are filling up so quickly, which is good for me. I mean, not just for me, but for our profession as a whole. Not only do I want good quality candidates here at Salinas PD, me as a law enforcement officer, I want them in the industry no matter where they're working.
Right.
So as long as we can get them out there on the street and trained and taking care of the public no matter where they are, that's beneficial for us.
Right. So a potential candidate applies for the job. What should they be doing mentally and physically to prepare themselves even to get into the academy, assuming they'll be selected? Until they get that call, they're on a list.
Correct.
So what should they be doing to make sure that they're prepared?
There are quite a few websites you can go to where you can see what the post-learning domains are.
Yeah.
You can research them online. You can start even studying somewhat ahead of time, so you're prepared mentally for the book work that you're going to have. You need to have good study habits. You need to be able to read and recite codes and those sorts of things. So whatever they can do to prepare themselves for that type of a classroom setting, that's one thing for sure. The other thing that they would need to do is be physically ready for what they're going to go through. And depending on what academy they're going to, and they'll know ahead of time, what's the weather like in that location. So the next academy starting in July at Coyote Creek location in South San Jose, Morgan Hill, is going to be very, very warm.
Right.
And you'll be running and doing all your physical activity in the heat. And so if you're not prepared for that physically, it's definitely going to take its toll.
Right. So a successful applicant finishes the academy, and then what happens to them in terms of them finally making it to the street as a police officer?
Well, for the 6 that we had yesterday, I can tell you those 6 are extremely glad they're out of the academy. But now the real work starts. And so once they're out, they of course go through their wonderful ceremony for getting sworn in and taking the oath of office and doing all that kind of fun stuff. And then for us, they start a 2-week in-house, basically a mini academy. It starts with the basics. We're going to requalify them on the reins, make sure they can shoot. We're going to take them out and drive in our driving course to make sure they can drive. And then we'll go through all the other perishable skills, the defensive tactics with them, the officer safety stuff. We'll go through every facet of our job with them in a 2-week mini academy, including report writing, which is a class that I get to teach them, which is actually a lot of fun. So they do this 2-week in-house, and then after that, their 16-week, now it's a 20-week field training program starts. The first 4 weeks of this training program is really, we're not evaluating them at all in those first 4 weeks. We want them to get in the car with their FTO, get used to where everything's set up in there, get used to how the radio sounds, where all the lights are, and all that kind of stuff, and how to work the computer and the cameras and all that kind of stuff. We want them just to get comfortable with that and go to some calls. In this first 4 weeks, we want them to be exposed to as much as they can be exposed to, so they understand what really happens in the job, not in a classroom setting. And so once they have that 4-week foundation, which I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but they'll see a tremendous amount of activity here in Salinas in that first 4 weeks. And once they have that solid foundation there, then they can start to build on that with their training officer. And as they go through their different phases of training, we call it, they will start to become evaluated. And as they get to the end of that 16-week evaluated period, the last 4 weeks of that, and what we call phase 4, the FTO is really taking a step back.
Okay.
And we're giving them a lot more freedom. And we want to see how they're doing. We really want to evaluate their performance at that time. And what they're being graded on is a solo beat officer capability. not the best police officer there is, because they're not going to be that yet. In
Right.
16 weeks, they're not going to know it all.
Right.
So we want to make sure they just can get from point A to point B without getting lost.
Mm-hmm.
That they can take calls for service, that they know how to write reports, that they're following laws of arrest and search and seizure and all these good things, that they can testify in court, all that type of stuff. And once they get to that acceptable level of performance and then reach that 16-week time period, then they're released. And then they have the best feeling in the world of not having a training officer sitting next to them watching their every move.
Right.
And then you really start to see these young folks become who they're going to become as a police officer, and how productive they're going to be to the city and to the community. And it's, as an ex-field training officer, that's the best feeling in the world, to see how these folks have developed and how they proceed in their career, progress in their career. I love it. It's awesome.
Well, the FTO, or the field training officers, is like their, one-on-one coach, right?
Correct.
Their mentor, and you got to feel good if you did a good job making sure that individual is prepared and to be a full-time professional police officer for the Salinas Police Department.
Right.
Very important, because there's so many issues out on the street, and officers have a very complex job, and so it's important that people, that are viewing this, interview, see how important that is. That training is not taken lightly,
No.
especially at the beginning of that, and that reminds me of you often are at least annually going to additional training to keep, current on your job requirements and what the latest might be in the field, and tactics or strategy, and all kinds of issues that officers deal with every year.
Yes, we go to what we call advanced officer training,
Right.
twice a year. And that's exactly that. And it's all the things that we've learned over the years, some of those perishable skills. And even though I've been a police officer for almost 19 years, I still go through the same driving course that the same brand new rookie officers are going through, and I still go through the same slow cuffing techniques that they go through. Just so we can always make sure that we're not losing those things. And that's why we call them perishable skills, because if you don't practice them, they easily can be forgotten. Right. But then we also have, great other training, folks from the DA's office coming in and briefing us on new case law and that sort of stuff. And it's definitely necessary, because once you stop learning,
Right.
Then you really do yourself a disservice and the community.
Mm-hmm. So tell us now, you're recruiting, you're actively out there in the field, different places, universities, job fairs, etc. So give us a little flavor about what it is specifically you're doing and how you do it.
Sure. Like you said, we've been to quite a few job fairs just in the 3 months, 2.5, almost 3 months that I've been here. We've attended quite a few job fairs from as far south as Cal State University, San Bernardino.
Okay.
Then we also do a lot of academy visits. So not every police academy is run by a specific department where they've hired their own people and are training their own folks. A lot of departments, or a lot of police academies, have what they call self-sponsored or non-affiliated folks in their academies. And there may be 6, there may be 12, the whole class might be non-affiliated, which is great for me, because these are folks that want a police job. They want it so bad that they're paying to go through the academy by themselves. So I can get out to them and I can talk to them about how wonderful the city is, how our phenomenal benefit package. That's one side of it, but then I sell this job, and it's
Right.
not hard to sell it to people that are already in the police academy, because they have an idea of what it is. But when just take San Bernardino, for example, people down there have no idea where Salinas is.
Oh, really?
None. They might know where Monterey is because they went there once on vacation as a child or something like that. So I found that talking about the city, we had the luxury, I guess it's a luxury, yeah, we had the luxury of being on the television show Cops.
Great.
So being able to take clips of that along with me and show that to people, because people that are getting into this field, they've seen Cops before,
Right.
that TV show. And so they realized that Cops doesn't come to departments that are slow, where there's no action,
Right.
where there's no excitement, right?
Mhm.
And so they get the feel of what that is, and they watch 4 or 5 of those episodes, or little clips of each one of those episodes, and then they get to ask me a lot of questions. So for me to be able to go out and sell the job is not difficult.
Okay.
Because of the level of activity that we have here. But what I do make sure that I tell them is, this city isn't for everybody. We hire some folks and they don't make training because it's so fast paced. There's so much going on that you really, really need to be sharp.
Right.
You need to be quick. You need to be able to do, 3 or 4 things, sometimes 5 things at one time. You have to drive, turn on your lights, watch for cross traffic, listen to the radio, talk on the radio, so many different things all at the same time. So being out there and talking to them is, I love it. I don't know if you can see it in my eyes, but I love the passion. I have the passion. I want there, and I don't want just anybody to work here. I want the best to come to work here. I was so excited the other day when I was up at the academy in Coyote Creek, talking to some folks, and that was on last Saturday, and there were 9 people that were there specifically to test just for us. Oh. And that may not sound like a lot, right? We have 20 openings, and only 9 people were there. But those 9 people are all people that I had talked to on the phone that I hadn't met before, but I had told them about how they needed to apply. Then I went up there, and then they got to see me face to face and talk to me and hand out some literature and watch some Cops episodes and things. And they were there specifically for us, and they all passed. So that, to me, that's exciting. That we're not that agency that has 300 openings. We have 20 openings,
right,
which is still a lot.
Right.
So when I get a good group of people like that are there, knowing that they want to come work just for us, that makes me feel good.
Right. So Todd, is there a perfect profile that you're trying to recruit in terms of an individual? Is that just a myth in terms of maybe who you want? Because some people would say, well, the perfect candidate might just be from Salinas, grew up here, wants to make a difference, versus somebody else who may not be from our community, but can be a great cop.
Right.
So.
I don't think there's that perfect profile. We've done a good job getting folks from kind of all walks of life.
Right.
From all different areas. We've had people that are from the Fresno Valley, in that area, Central Valley, that have come to work here. We've had people from, Southern California come to work here. There are 2 people that I spoke to in that San Bernardino Academy that have their applications in right now. So that's exciting. There's folks that I went to talk to in Sacramento that have put their applications in. So we're getting a good draw from everywhere right now. Does it feel good when you have local people put in? And it's nice to see them come in and talk to them in an oral board, and they tell you, hey, this is where I grew up. This is the elementary school I went to. This is the junior high that I went to.
Great.
This is my high school. And I always knew this is what I wanted to do, and now I'm ready, and I want to do it right here. Right. And so it helps because, for the most part, they have a general idea of what the city's all about. They understand the violence, so to speak, but they also understand that that's a small percentage of folks that are committing those crimes.
Right.
The majority of the people in this community are fantastic. They're hardworking, they're law-abiding, right? They support us, they support the council, they support the city, and they're fantastic people. So to have local kids come back is great. 4 of the 6 that we got sworn in yesterday are all born and raised out of Salinas.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's exciting.